I don't think a lot of Argentinians saw him as Argentinian.
No, I
he's
agree.
Probably because he's grown up in Spain.
Yes.
He's probably more, although he's born in Argentina,
Yeah.
he's more into the Spanish culture than he is the Argentinian.
Well, there's a great similarity, of course, between Argentina and
the only
Spanish
reason that he
culture.
left, when he was with River Plate from a kid,
Yes.
because he was so small, he had what they call growth hormone deficiency.
Yes.
But River Plate couldn't afford the $900 a month what it was going to cost to get his medicine.
The injection.
So it was his uncle who had connections with a scout from Barcelona,
Yes.
and they signed a contract on a napkin. The Barcelona scout
Yeah, yeah.
saw he was that good. He went, look, I will promise you, this is my word.
Yeah.
We will
This is what we'll
medical
try and do.
treatments,
Yeah.
then come over with your family with us.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. So it's probably the best £900 a month they've ever spent.
I'm sure it was. Anyway, get up on the Skype wall, please. It is Sports Night Live. Want to talk about Lionel Messi or anything else? This is the place to be. The platform for football debate. Okay, you've got Perry Groves and you've got me. Astonishing, really. Have you seen these figures, Perry, that I've been reading out tonight? They're just endless, absolutely endless. Pep Guardiola, for instance, his manager, says, actually, he said, I only scored 11 goals in my entire career. One more performance like that from Messi, and he'll have almost caught up in 2 games as well. And other statistics, 148 goals in his last 150 games for Barca. Have you ever come across a situation where a player is on a goal a match average after 150 games? It's astonishing.
It is astonishing. The other one who is above that is Ronaldo.
Yeah.
That's why, as a forward, it is far easier to play in the league than what it is in the Premier League. And the only question I would add, if Messi had been brought up in the English academies, he wouldn't have made it as a footballer.
Why?
Because of his size.
Right.
You'd have had stereotypical coaches who wouldn't have seen his talent.
Yep.
They'd have wanted him to track back.
Yep.
They'd have wanted him to be more physical.
Yep.
They'd have wanted him to tackle more.
Yep.
They wouldn't have had the foresight and the imagination to see what a fantastic player he was.
Yeah.
So at Barcelona, he was dropped down from his own age group to a younger age group because he wasn't physically developed.
Yep.
And they just went with his talent, whereas that had been coached out of him in our academy system. He wouldn't have made it. He'd have been lost to football.
Yeah, I was told this morning he nearly didn't play last night because he had a headache. Seriously, for some unknown reason, he got some sort of intense headache before the game. And so
Tell you what, I could have done with a few of those headaches before my career. I could have done. I'd have suffered a migraine, to be fair.
Yeah, and another hero, of course, who starred in Spanish football for a couple of decades, Raúl, was 27 when he reached the scoring stage that Messi's at now, and Messi's 3 years younger.
And also, you've got to put into consideration that he's probably in the best football team that there's been in football ever at Barcelona. Barcelona.
In terms of a domestic team?
No, I'm talking about one of the best football teams ever.
The 1970 Brazilian
team. I didn't see them live, but I would put them definitely alongside them. So, and maybe they're probably better because they play with each other every week. Whereas the Brazilian team just come together as well for World Cups and friendlies.
Yeah.
Where this, like the Iniestas, the Xavis, the Busquets, the Pedros, and I think Guardiola will leave at the end of the season because I think he realises football's cyclical. And they say about the fantastic academy they've got at Barcelona, it's very rare that you produce 7 or 8 world-class players from one batch. They'll produce very good players, but they won't get 7 or 8 world-class ones again.
Who all like each other. I tell you what, let's get back up to the Skype wall. Delighted to say that we've got up on the Skype wall now Joseph Sexton, Spanish football journalist living over there in Spain. He's not actually Spanish, he's Irish, but he's a master of his craft over there in Spain. He's with us now. Joseph, good evening to you.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well indeed.
Ropey, but we'll motor on anyway.
Okay, mate. Well, I'm sorry about that. It's our fibre optic cable. As long as you can hear us, we can hear you perfectly. So as long as I can get the questions to you. First of all, give us something about the reaction of the Messi brilliance last night. Over here in England, it's exploded. We've got some national newspapers in this country whose back page is simply Messi, despite the fact that our domestic teams, Manchester United and Manchester City, are playing in Europe this week.
You know, possibly that's a welcome escape from the Anglo-centricism of the British press, but I mean, come on. You know, when we have players like this in the past, and I'm not even going to make comparisons, but when we have players like this in the past, they were playing in faraway countries and leagues that we didn't get to see very often. If at all, we got to see them in the World Cup. I mean, everybody knows the phenomenon that is Lionel Messi right now. We see the games live. We have the analysis live. For me, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that that's on the back of the English press because, I mean, that's what he did last night was... I'm almost hesitant to say incredible because we've seen him do this so many times, but I mean, we are privileged to witness an athlete, a footballer, at this level of his game, so we've got to celebrate the guy.
Do you think that he'd be as successful in the Premier League And I mean by as many goals that he scores in ratio, because I think it's easier to score goals in the Liga than what it is in the Premier League.
No, I disagree completely. I think he would have a right in the Premier League. The one caveat I would add to that is that there aren't many teams out there as good as Barcelona, and I guess we're going to come to that when we talk about like how he play, how he's fared with Argentina. But I mean, in terms of like the fact that like this guy's played across every position, across the front, in behind the front. He's devastating in every position. Okay, maybe you mightn't score as many goals because not just him, but the goals Cristiano Ronaldo are scoring at the moment, and I don't think that's down to the weakness of the Spanish league.
No, that's my point.
As such.
No, that's my point. The reason being,
thrive anywhere that he's
Ronaldo didn't average a goal a game at Manchester United, and Manchester United were the best side in Europe at the time, and he was their top goal scorer, but he got nowhere near averaging a goal a game and over a goal a game. So there's the comparison.
I hear you. One thing I would say is I think Ronaldo was hitting his peak at the time that he went to Real, and to be honest, he's only improved as a footballer since. And yes, the one thing that you do get in the Spanish league, although I mean, look at it, let's face it, like we've seen the ridiculous scorelines just between teams in the top 3 and 4 and 5 in the Premier League between each other this season. There's been a lot of goals. But the one thing you will get a bit more of, I mean, it exists in the English Premier League, but you do tend to get like sides who are down towards the bottom half of the tables that, they get beaten into a pummel by Barca and Real. Yeah. That said, if you want to look at it on the reverse side, look at last night. Bayer Leverkusen are not a bad team. And Barcelona absolutely annihilated them. I think they had a good result in the Bundesliga the last week, last weekend.
Oh yeah.
And they're right up there, but these are two very special teams. I mean, you can make the obvious comparison with Scotland, but leave that aside for a second. We're talking about two very exceptional teams, and they're going to give teams that aren't good enough, that aren't ready enough, a hell of a beating.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph, tell me this. He's 24 now. He plays for the best team in the world at the moment, setting all-time records. I mean, has he got to keep that up for another decade? Or can he possibly go somewhere else? I mean, it's hard to believe that he can do this for another 10 years.
Well, that's the big question, I guess. We've, I suppose in the English media, there's, well, not just in the English media, but it's become fashionable to talk about players who've played a lot of football at a very young age getting burnt out, So often we hear examples like Michael Owen, he'd be the classic example of this argument.
Yeah.
But Messi had a lot of injury troubles earlier in his career. And he's been basically healthy for the last 3 full seasons now. Yeah. I don't see any reason why he can't keep performing to a similar level to what he's doing now. And obviously with age, I mean, maybe a few years down the line he uses a bit of pace, but yes, pace is important to Messi, but it's not his overriding characteristic. It's not what makes him the greatest footballer in the world.
Sure.
His footballing intelligence is continuing to develop year on year. And when you see a guy like Ryan Giggs, for example, who's playing at like nearly 40 years old in the Premier League, and we all know that he made he had some poor decision making when he was younger, when he had all that pace, when he had all that talent. But I think footballers of this level can adapt. Now, God forbid he gets a terrible injury, but as he's playing now, as he's progressing, as he's improving year upon year, there's nothing to say that he can't keep playing at this level for some time to come.
Sure. Well, we look forward to it because obviously it's not just you Spanish who enjoy this magnificent talent. We revel in it over here. Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.